Welcome to rSlash, Am I the Butthole, where OP pulls a Karen and gets an employee fired. Am I the butthole for not using my daughter's college fund for my stepson's rehab? The title basically sums it up, I suppose. My husband and I have been married for 3 years now. I have a 15-year-old daughter and he has a 24-year-old son. I'm friendly with my stepson, but we aren't close. He has a biological mother who's a perfectly fine woman. I'm not here to take the role of his mom. My late husband, that is to say my daughter's father, died when my daughter was 6. We both contributed to her college fund. My daughter's paternal grandparents have also contributed a large amount. Right now, the fund has about $180,000. My daughter is extremely bright, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. I truly believe that she has the capacity to go to an Ivy League school. And her teachers have said that she has potential as well, and I don't want money to hold her back. Our income is too high to get any meaningful financial aid, and while there are a few merit-based scholarships out there that she'll be applying to, we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket, and we hope that she gets in when it's so competitive. My current husband and I have separate finances. He doesn't contribute at all to my daughter's fund. My stepson is struggling with a heroin addiction, and has stolen money, jewelry, heirlooms, and electronics from us for drug money. I understand that addiction is a disease, and I personally paid for an outpatient detox for him, which cost $1,000 and which failed. His father then paid for an outpatient rehab program, which cost $6,500, which also didn't work because he barely showed up. He promised us that he'd do better next time and that he'd need another chance, so I split the cost of another $6,500 outpatient rehab program with my husband, which seemed to work while he was in the program, but he relapsed as soon as he got out of it. I've spent so much money, time, and energy, and it hasn't helped at all. My husband and stepson want to try a 60-day inpatient rehab program, which will cost $30,000. I have absolutely no idea where they're supposed to get the money for that, considering the thousands and thousands of dollars that were already spent, and the fact that we no longer had anything of value in our house. They want to use my daughter's college fund, which to me is absolutely off limits. I feel like it's completely unfair to my daughter to punish her for my stepson's addiction, unfair to my late husband and his parents, but frankly, I don't think spending $30,000 will work. My husband thinks I'm a butthole because I'm prioritizing my daughter's education over his son's life, and he believes medical needs come first. He then asked my daughter if she'd be willing to use $30,000 from her fund to pay for her stepbrother's rehab, and she got very quiet and didn't answer. He then got very upset with her and said that she was being selfish. My daughter later told me that she didn't want to give her stepbrother that money, but she felt so guilty. And I'm furious at my husband for emotionally guilt-tripping my daughter like that. So first things first, OP, you get solidly 0 out of 5 buttholes because it's your money and you can do whatever you want to with it. The same goes for your daughter. It's basically her money as well, so if she wants to save it for her education, it's her right to do that. Also, you've already spent thousands of dollars of your own money on helping your stepson detox. So your husband can't blame you for not being willing to contribute because you already did. That being said, I really can't throw your husband under the bus on this one. Heroin addiction is a really big deal, so naturally your husband is worried about his son's life. I think a lot of parents in your father's shoes would have tried to do the exact same thing, and really, I don't think that I could blame them. Sure, it's a bit of a butthole move to try to get that money, but it's basically a life or death situation. So I think the worst that I can give your husband is about 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for getting angry at a stylist who called the authorities? This is absolutely wild to me. I'm an 18-year-old woman back from college, and I recently went to the hair salon with my best friend, who's also an 18-year-old woman. My friend Gemma is deaf and was wearing a Gallaudet shirt. It says Gallaudet University School for the Deaf on it. Gemma wanted to go blonder, and because of the fact that everyone has to wear masks, she can't use her lip-reading skills and instead uses her phone or uses sign language. We went to get our hair done together, and I decided to help her out and show the new hairstylist what she wanted with her hair and explain in detail how she wanted her hair done. Did I sort of hover? Yeah, I did. I noticed that the hairstylist was getting out the wrong things, and I went over there 3 times to tell her while Gemma sat there quietly, not knowing what the hell was going on. The stylist started to act really strangely and started to talk to Gemma, snap her fingers near her ears, and finally said she was taking a break and went off to the back room of the hair salon for a few minutes. At this point, Gemma and I decided that the service was awful and that it was time to go. Before we could leave, the hairstylist came back and literally kept us there. She made excuses, started talking, and stalled and prevented us from leaving. The cops arrived like 10 minutes later, and Gemma and I were separated and I was taken into one area. I was asked a few questions and I answered. I showed them pictures of us as kids in our Instagram and Snap stories. I called my dad, and the cops understood everything. It turns out that the hairstylist assumed that Gemma was being human trafficked because she was catatonic in her chair. She was unresponsive, she seemed agitated by waving her hands around, and I was doing all the talking for her. The cops left, and I went back out there to scream at the hairstylist. I used some choice words, called her some mean things, and because this business is a franchise, I forced her to call her manager so that I could watch her get fired on the spot. I was extremely angry, and I told her that she was the stupidest B-word in the world for all the drama. Am I the butthole for screaming at the stylist? We left with a lot of free stuff and gift cards, but my friends say that she was doing her job, and I think that she was being a nosy B-word. So a lot of people in the comments of this thread are giving this an everyone sucks here. OP and the hairstylist both suck, but Gemma's the only one who doesn't. And while I'll certainly agree that Gemma doesn't suck here, I don't think that I could say that the hairstylist sucks. I mean, at the absolute worst, I think you could say that the hairstylist was ignorant or perhaps a little bit dumb, but not a butthole. She genuinely thought that Gemma was being human trafficked, so she did what she thought was the right thing. I mean, she was wrong, clearly, but I don't think that it was completely unreasonable for her to think that in that situation. So yeah, the hairstylist was well-intentioned but wrong. OP, on the other hand, was a grade A Karen. You yelled at her and got her fired because, what, she cares about the well-being of your friend? I mean, sure, your customer experience was kinda sucky, but it was just a reasonable misunderstanding. And you had to get her fired over that? OP, I'm giving you 3 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving the hairstylist like maybe 0.5 out of 5 buttholes. Gemma, of course, gets 0 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for my reaction when I got home to find my 6-month-old daughter wearing the same diaper for 9 hours? I'm a 35-year-old woman who's been busy with work. I'm a nurse and taking care of my 6-month-old baby girl and her 6-year-old sister. My husband works night shifts 3 nights a week, so he's usually sleeping at home during the day. He got himself a PS5 a month ago and started spending more time playing games. He used to handle some of the house chores. Now, all he does is make excuses of how tired he is and how much he needs to sleep. But he'd come home from his shift and immediately start playing. He drinks a lot of coffee to stay concentrated and awake. Also, he stopped eating properly. He keeps forgetting to do the things that I ask him to do, like fix his daughter's toys or change her diapers. I started calling my mom to come help since he's been too busy to do simple things. He didn't like that I asked other people for help and said that I didn't have to. That he'll start helping again. I actually believed him and left for my 8-hour shift at the hospital, and before I left, I reminded him of everything he needed to do, from feeding, changing diapers, cleaning our daughter's room, etc. He said don't worry about it, and then I left. I called him to check on the kids and he said everything was fine. I came home in the evening, and I was shocked to see that our 6-month-old babe was put in the living room. Her stuff was on the couch while he was playing. She wouldn't stop crying, and he said that he didn't know what was wrong. Turns out that he never changed her diaper after I left. She was wearing the same diaper for 9 hours. He said he forgot, but he was busy playing games. I immediately took care of her. I knew her rash was going to get worse after that. My 6-year-old's hair was a mess because he didn't brush her hair. The kitchen was a mess. I was livid and kept yelling at him for being neglectful and reckless and literally forgetting about his own kids over a game. He said that I was overreacting and that it was my fault for not reminding him on the phone. I told him it was my fault for leaving the kids with someone who doesn't even brush his teeth. He got offended and left the house minutes later. His mom called me, telling me that my husband stays up at night to make a living for his kids, and that I was pressuring him by giving him more than he could handle. I tried to explain, but she just kept lashing out, calling me controlling, and said that I might be frustrated from my job, and that's why I'm taking it out on him. I hung up on her because I had to take care of the messes left by my husband. Okay, so first things first, OP. You said that you were shocked that your husband moved the baby's bed into the living room. Clearly your husband planned to play video games all day, so if you ask me, that was actually very reasonable. In fact, I think it was more safe that he moved the bed into that room rather than leave the baby in the other room. That being said, your husband clearly did a terrible job of taking care of his own children. Leaving a little infant to stew in her own feces for 9 hours is borderline child abuse. Actually, I think it is child abuse. I have to imagine that that baby was crying, probably for hours on end because she was uncomfortable and stinky. which means that your husband intentionally chose to just ignore his crying child right next to him because he'd rather play another round of like Call of Duty or whatever. Look, there's nothing wrong with him wanting to play PS5. If I were in his shoes, I probably would have also brought the baby into the room with me and then played games while also keeping an eye on them. But I would have changed diapers, I would have fed the kids, and I would have kept the house clean. Then I could have just played PS5 during the downtime when the baby was napping or something. What your husband did was disgusting and deserves 4 out of 5 buttholes. And the fact that he went crying to mommy and told on you for being a mean wife? Come on, grow up, dude. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. If anything, you get negative buttholes because on top of doing nothing wrong, you're also a nurse during the pandemic. So your husband should be bending over backwards to give you support. Am I the butthole for not cleaning while I cook just to prove a point to my husband? I've always cleaned while I cook, so when it gets to the end of the meal, there's minimal mess. My husband is the opposite. When he cooks, it's like a bomb went off. I've encouraged him to clean as he cooks, and if we're making a big holiday meal together, I often make sure to assign him that role. Like most people, one of us cooks and the other one cleans up. I'm the better cook, so I cook like 80% of the time. He gets an easy cleanup. I've been busier than usual at work, so he's had to step up. Whenever he's done, the kitchen is a mess. I don't even understand how it happens. There will be oil splatters untouched, stuff drying to dishes, vegetable peels, and meat just laying around. I'm not about to let food sit out overnight, so after I finish eating, I start cleaning up, and I don't really get to relax much. Last week, I asked if he could please try cleaning as he cooks. He told me, "The rule is one person cooks, the other person cleans." I said, "I get that, but you're leaving me with a huge mess every night." He said, "I just don't have time to clean up while I'm focused on cooking," knowing full well that I'll see him scrolling on his phone. I just got so fed up. So on Sunday, I made a big pot of chili. I didn't clean up as I worked, so when I was done, I served him, sat down, and enjoyed a beer and dinner. When he finally went to the kitchen, he said, "What the F? Why is there such a mess?" I said that I was too busy paying attention to the chili to clean up. I started to get ready for bed. He was like, "You're just gonna leave this here?" And I said yes. He said he would have to wake up extra early to clean up, and that he had to be at work earlier than usual and was supposed to play a game with his friend later that night, so could I just clean up? I said no, I cooked, so he has to clean. 2 days later, he's still pissy with me because he ended up not being able to game and told me he didn't get enough sleep and was exhausted at work. Not to be too snarky, but it's not like he's a surgeon. All because I had to prove a point to him. I told him that nothing else seemed to get his attention, so I feel pretty justified. He told me I was being a smug butthole about it and I was being childish. Am I the butthole or is he? Not the butthole, OP. The only reason why he was so happy with the one person cooks and one person cleans rule is because he's the one who benefited from it. Now that you've turned the tables on him, he's just salty because he's gotten a taste of his own medicine. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'll give your husband, let's say, 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for helping my daughter's boyfriend against his parents' wishes? Long story short, am I the butthole for giving my daughter's boyfriend his portion of the money he needed for them to move into an apartment together against his parents' wishes? His parents are majorly pissed off because I gave him the money because they didn't want him to move in with my daughter. He's 22 years old, works a full-time job, and has been dating my daughter for 3 years. His parents require him to give them his entire salary every pay period. It gets direct deposited into their bank accounts. They give him an allowance of $100 per week. They told him he couldn't move out because they need his help financially. But his father makes really good money as an architect, and his mother makes a moderate income as a high school teacher. I personally don't think they should be depending on their son's income or forcing him into giving them all of his money. So I gave him some money. He opened his own bank account and had his job change as direct deposit. He and my daughter are moving into the apartment this upcoming weekend. His mother posted a scathing post on Facebook, basically threatening me with bodily harm for messing with her family and getting involved with things that are none of my business. She then proceeded to call me and scream at me with pretty much the same message. I hung up on her. So, am I the butthole for getting involved in their family matters? Should I have stayed out of it? OP, while I was reading this story, my jaw dropped. I can't believe that they're making their son deposit his entire paycheck into their account. And they give him a $100 a week allowance when he's 22 years old? What on earth? No, this isn't just guilt trips and emotional manipulation. This is toxic, controlling behavior. At this point, OP, I don't think it's safe to give you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I have to give you like -3 out of 5 buttholes. Because of your help, your daughter's boyfriend was able to escape his toxic parents' controlling behavior. So don't sweat it, OP. His parents are super messed up people and you should just avoid them at all costs. And then OP posted an update. Wow, first of all, thank you so much for the love and confidence boosting responses. Seriously, way more than I expected. Second, things have seriously changed. My daughter and her boyfriend are living in their new place. The address is unknown to his parents. His salary is being directly deposited into his own bank account in a different bank that his parents use. He also has a new phone with a new number that they don't know about, and all three of us, him, my daughter, and me, have restraining orders against both of his parents. Yeah, that's what I thought. The fact that this guy got restraining orders against his own parents mean that there's actually way more abuse that we're not seeing here. This isn't just about money. In fact, I would bet my entire YouTube channel that his parents don't need his financial support at all. They were just doing that because it's the best way to control and manipulate their own son. My guess is that these parents have been emotionally abusing their son for his entire life. That was rSlash AmITheButthole, and if you like this content, check out my Patreon where I publish extra episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.